Hello, Brenda.
Hello, Charlie. How are you today?
Fantastic. We're on episode 57 here at the Blindsided Podcast. And today we're talking about when we resist that things that resistance starts to persist and grows. And it could come from how we identify as my job, as identified by my car I drive, I identify by the house I live in, I identify. And when those things go through something, or there's breaking or change or loss of or transition to new, we find ourselves I am. And when that thing or object or structure gets has damaged our thing, we resist, and then that persists. And we're going to talk about different examples, whether it's medical, physical, and have fun. And I've got some notes, Brenda, and you guys know who I am if you've been here before. Charlie Collins, speaker and trainer, and a man who's happy to be here this morning with my yellow on, short sleeve, because it's getting nicer.
Is getting nice. Hi, everybody. My name is Brenda Hayden. I'm the founder of Time for a 10. We're an emotional awareness, emotional intelligence coaching service. What we do is we help people unlearn by looking at their 0 to 7 programming, because it's usually that something that happened way back when, or something that they've learned, some kind of belief that's causing turmoil in their lives. And we help them reframe, circumstances and things that are bothering them, so they don't bother them anymore. It's really fun. I love doing it. And I want to say good morning to Carrie and Molly, because they're typing already. Hi, guys. Good to see you. For all that celebrate Easter, happy Easter.
Yes.
Yes.
Today's Holy Saturday.
Holy Saturday.
So watch your mouth.
I have such a potty mouth too.
So I thought I would kick it off with, before I move us to the wider screen. Back in the day, I got a job at a motorcycle dealership, and I did great and at the job, because up until then I had resisted that I didn't have a college degree. So that was something that was made me less than, and I was always going to not have a real good job. So, and because I had that belief, it persisted in my life. I kind of carried that baggage of resistance along with me. And then I got this opportunity, Brenda, and I took it, and I did well. But I had something else in my life going on: alcoholism and denial, and I had some issues so that I wasn't looking at. And I then got to the top. And I don't mean I became a vice president and part owner of this multi-million-dollar dealership. And you got to look in the mirror and say, wait, for up until 2 years ago, you believed you were not good enough. You never were going to succeed in life. You were, going to be trapped in the misery of being a landscaper. And I'm not saying there's anything bad with that, but deep down in me, something was telling me you could do more. But I would say, quiet. And I moped through. So now I'm doing this, but I had arrived. I got to this place. And, I couldn't seem to fill the void. I don't know what this void is. I don't know what's missing. That comes later. But I lost the position. And the board voted me out of the company. And I would not share that publicly, let alone with anybody, for many years, because I was identified as that guy, as the guy that was nothing and worked his way to something. So now this identity was taken from me, and now I'm nothing again. And it wasn't my decision. And I am what I do. I am what you think about me. And I learned that I am not my job. I am not what you think of me. And that came through years. And I remember, because, Brenda, when we go through things like that, something horrible, something where we hit a bottom and we've got to surrender to it. Because if we fight it, if we resist that, it just keeps growing. It persists in our life in all different areas. And from that collapse and me making a change, I started a new company called Vision Dynamics, helping thousands of people who were suffering from vision impairment. But did I see it when I was in my resistance phase? Absolutely not. But it took what it took for me to, as we talked about last week, I had such a grip on my identity as that guy. I finally let go and all new good things started coming.
It's a great story, Charlie. I want to say good morning to Kaylee and Carrie. They've both joined. Charlie, there's so many things that came up while I was listening to you. And one was, you had this idea that you weren't good enough because you didn't have a college degree, right? That's something that our society kind of shoved down our throats, that, to kind of build, we talked about consume, produce, that whole matrix, right? And we're all told, like from a very early age, right? You got to go to college, you got to get a degree. We're taught to compete with one another to be the best, right? Like my dad, right, was director of IT at Yale University with a high school diploma. And he retired as director of IT at Yale University. He spent his entire career there, like 40 years there, with a high school diploma in that kind of position. My middle son, didn't go to college. He's a master mechanic. He passed all 8 exams and he makes twice as much money as I do. I have a master's degree. It doesn't matter. I'm not minimizing the benefit of education. I wouldn't do that because I've gotten so much out of it. But it's not, it doesn't define your ability to be successful. Your education does not define your ability to be successful. It may give you more opportunities. It may push you in a different direction, right? So you had to unlearn that to be able to move forward. And then, I know because I know you personally, and I've experienced the same thing. When we have that belief system sitting in our subconscious brain, and this is, what my coaching staff and the coaching team does, we teach people to unlearn that belief system. That's sitting in your subconscious brain and running. And I experienced the same thing you did. I got to a certain level of success because I had the same belief system. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'll never amount to anything. All the things I was told. When I did reach a level of success, I sabotaged it in one way or another. I sabotaged it. And then I'd rise again, like a phoenix coming out of the ashes, and I would sabotage this. And I did this cycle until I reached an existential crisis, which is what you're talking about. I got into enough pain where I said, something needs to give. Something needs to give. And that's when I started doing the work, because I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. And I became willing to unlearn the belief system that was destroying my life. And you don't have to have an existential crisis to do that. You can, we know when something is awry. We know when we're in our brains, when we're in our fear center. You feel it through your body. So if you take the time to acknowledge it, step back and start doing some work before everything falls apart, you can have a different experience with your anxiety, with your fear, and with the belief system that you're tapping into to create your reality. You just have to stop and look at it. Metacognition, we talk about it all the time. So I love this topic. And I'm glad we're doing what you resist persists. We sit in what we know because it feels like we're in control, because we know how to navigate it. We're used to it, right? Just because you're used to it, it doesn't mean it's good. It just means you're used to it. Right. So be uncomfortable. When you're uncomfortable, that's a really good sign that you're growing and expanding, that you're moving in the right direction. You're uncomfortable. So we have a comment here. Okay. Imagination, the awakening, the things we run from chase us. I love this. Until we turn and address them. Like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz throws water on the witch. Do we discover the power was always within us to dissolve our, issue? That's for imagination, the awakening. Yeah, I had to click an X. That's a really good comment. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Stanley.
Oh, hi, Stan.
Yeah, that's Stanley.
Hi, Stan. Stan the man's here.
Yep, Stan the lion.
Or Stan the lion.
I'll explain that later.
Okay.
Not today. But anyway, but do we? Why is it that it needs to get bad? Why is it we need to get back on the elevator and keep going down? Why isn't it possible? And actually, Stanley and I have been really trying to figure this out. And I know there's no figuring, but I watched some show, okay? And it was like an emergency room thing. And people would come in. Now they're not thinking, well, I'm going to resist you fixing this rip in my leg because, if I wait a little longer and resist this, then maybe I could have it amputated. It's like they accept help. They surrender to it immediately. They don't resist. They trust in the system, the doctors and everything that are there to help them. And they come through the other side and they are grateful. They appreciate. The doctors come in and talk to them about the plan that they got to follow in order to recover and become recovered from this situation. And I'm like, gosh, it is not that easy working with people when you work with the mind, because they can't see what, even though you might show them, people would say, Charlie, it doesn't have to be this way.
Mhm.
And I would think as soon as they say, yes, it does. And why are you resisting change? I'm not. I don't know anything different. I'm not willing to hear you right now. I don't know why I'm not willing to. I am so uncomfortable hanging around people that are trying to help me or talk to me about what's going on. Why are you sabotaging your life? And those people are the problem. I can't see it within me. But boy, if I had an accident and I got taken into a center or emergency room, it's like, what the heck, Brenda? And you were saying these beliefs, this programming that we have installed. Okay, yeah, maybe not maybe. Some came from outside, but then we, over time, we anchored that programming into our brain. And then we created bad habits and just habits all around that. And that resistance kept persisting in that thick skin of our brain, of our hard wiring, which isn't even the truth anymore. We know of neuroplasticity. We know it's all possible to change. But what the hell is it going to take?
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, you bring up a really good point, Charlie, because what you're talking about is our addiction, and I'm using that word really lightly, our addiction to our fear, our addiction to our circumstances. I was just talking about this. We do what we know, and we feel safe in doing what we know because we know it, even if it's not good for us. Right? There's ease and comfort. We get ease and comfort from staying in a routine, from doing the same thing. Ease and comfort from resisting change because we don't know what to expect with change. We don't know what's going to be on the other side of that. We just don't know. And that's what we're resisting. We don't want to not know. We were talking about this last week. We think that if we know that we're somehow in control. And I think Trish was saying, well, so we don't need to know why. No, you don't need to know why, because that's just going to give you, knowing why just gives you a false sense of control. It's an illusion of control. We're hurling through space at, what did we come up with last week? I asked ChatGPT to calculate that. 1.8 million miles per hour we're hurling through space, yet we think we have control. So, and for me, in my experience, I would rather do the same thing every day and know what the outcome is going to be than try something different and not know what the outcome is going to be. And it wasn't until I started really taking that leap of faith, right? Trusting, relying on a power greater than myself, God, source, universe, nature, whatever you want to call it, the universe, and taking that leap of faith and seeing what happened. It started for me with a few summers ago. I think you remember this. I said, I'm not making plans all summer long. I am going to do whatever the universe puts in front of me that day. And I had the best summer of my life. I tried all kinds of new things. I met all kinds of new people. And all I did was let it unfold. And I had a new experience with myself, with other people, with the world. Most people don't want to do that because of the fear. It's fear.
Yeah, doing something. I know if I do something, if I walk out into traffic, it's probably not going to be a good outcome.
Right.
Okay. But if I stay on the sidewalk and just move my legs and arms a little and look up at the sun and maybe catch the smell of the beautiful spring that's it's coming to us, then maybe that's going to help me a little. I can't imagine it's going to make my day worse. So, we don't need to know why, or we don't need to know the outcome, because the outcome is always going to be what it is. And we need to learn how to stop resisting it.
Yeah.
So, Brenda, check this out. I put these here. These are weights.
Oh,
And what are these
you're going to help me read something.
She put her glasses on. These are weights, right?
Yep.
And they're heavy. And then if I do this is creating resistance in my body. And, I want to come back to, where it's not as hard. But what are people doing? They're sitting right about here. And what's happening right now? This is getting heavier and harder, and I'm getting angry. Brenda, what should I do?
Let go, Charlie.
No.
Either rise or let go.
Hurry up. Tell me. Because no, I don't believe you.
Don't resist,
it's not
don't
me.
Resist.
It's not me. It's not the weights. It's you. It's life. It's the new job. It's okay. I got to let go. But, think about it. Those bands that we work out with, or I hope everyone knows, we go, oh, and then we go, oh, and then we let go and we go, oh, and that resistance is a wonderful thing. And persistence is a wonderful thing. But for some reason, for me, for so many years, I persisted and resisted the suffering, and it grew.
That's a good point. And so what comes to mind for me when you say that is our basic belief that pain and suffering is bad. Pain and suffering is good. When I'm in pain, and it took work to do this. I didn't wake up one day and say, yay, pain. I recognize pain now as an invitation for growth. That's what I recognize pain as, an invitation for growth. And anything that's causing me pain, if I embrace the pain and I start getting curious about it, right? Instead of going to the fear center of my brain and saying, oh no, what's going to happen? It's never going to change. I'm always going to be this way. I don't want to cry. I don't like this feeling. Just being curious about it. Like, when was the last time I felt this way? How old do I feel when I'm in this pain? What is this pain here to teach me? Then I have a different experience with pain. And it's the same thing with suffering. Suffering isn't necessarily bad. Whenever I'm in pain and whenever I'm suffering, right, some kind of energy, usually old trauma energy. If you haven't read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, you should. It's old energy and trauma being released from my body, right? Something's being triggered, or I'm having an experience I don't like. And if I allow the pain to express itself, if I allow the suffering to express itself, right, then it's released. Now, there's this, it says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering happens when we resist. In the persistence of the pain. Suffering happens when we resist. If we allow the pain to be expressed and released, the suffering, the amount of time you're going to spend suffering is cut tremendously. I mean, you actually get to choose how long you suffer for. Right. You get to choose that.
Yeah. I know, but you and I both know, without a podcast like this, or without a book of directions, or something that awakens the truth within us, that you can put an end to this. Is it going to happen immediately? No. Can you do it alone? Probably not. I wouldn't suggest it. I would always, because that hard programming, that belief system is going to beat you back down without somebody helping guide you on this journey. I had a sponsor I had a coach, I had mentors, I still do. I have really good, smart people that are awake in my life, like you, that allow the BS once in a while, but then say, all right, enough is enough.
Yeah.
Brenda, so I'm going to get to step 12 in a minute, but I wanted to, and for those of you who don't know, you'll know. So hang on. But I got burned many years ago, electrically burned. I'm not going to go into the story, but I will tell you I ended up in a burn unit. And do you think I said, no, I want to sizzle a little longer? No, but I did. I resisted that they're going to amputate my arm, and they were, I came to, and there was a priest next to me. I went, oh my God, am I dead? And anyway, so I finally let go of this resistance that I'm never going to get better. My life is over because of this burn. Something happened. And it was this power greater than me, because I didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't know any better, but I was lying. They would bring needles like this big in of morphine and shoot it into me. And it would help a little, but no, the pain was so intense. When you get electrically burned, it burns you on the inside and blows out of you. And that's what happened. It was over 12,000 volts, So anyway, I started going into other rooms and listening to their stories, and look at holy God, I thought I had it bad. Well, it's not really funny, but, and I just listened, and I talked, and and then I went, and then, one gentleman, I sat with him after dinner for like an hour and a half, and he was banged up. He was in a house fire. And, then I came to the next morning, I went to go visit him, and he was gone. He died. And I'm like, oh, and he gave up. He gave up. He didn't want to live anymore. A young boy was playing with gunpowder in his basement. He took one of his dad's bullets. I could relate. And he took it apart, and he made the pile, and then he put a match to it. Not so smart. But who's thinking of that part? I'm thinking of, what will this do? And the poor kid burnt his whole head, and his hair, his face. He wasn't going to die. But I just hung out with him daily. I got a plaque from his family, his parents, and I didn't do it for those reasons, but I help people remove the resistance of the suffering by being there. Now, I don't know why I'm sharing this story, but it came to me that I resisted for 3 days in the hospital. Get out of my room. I don't want the help. I hate myself. I can't believe this happened to me. Well, who's the one that climbed on the train? And anyway, and then finally I just said, I'm going to die in here, and I don't want to. And the only way is to go do something. So if you have a medical issue, type 2 diabetes, you change your eating habits, you get off medicine, and you get healthier, get out there and help people. Share your story. Go to a support group and share. Why the hell do we all want to go at life alone? We're never going to get to the other side trying to do this alone.
Never. Accountability buddies, a coach, all of that is really important. We have a couple of comments I want to read here, Charlie, and then I want to talk about anxiety for a minute. Trish put a really good quote out here. In the depth of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer. That's by Albert Camus. I hope I said that right. And Stan says, keep it up. That's where the strength comes from. And thanks for the comments in there. And
Stan wanted me to keep doing this.
Yeah, that's where the strength comes from.
Yeah.
So right. I want to talk about anxiety for a minute, because there's a great tool that I was taught to use that really helps with that. Because, when you're on the precipice of having to do something difficult or having to change, I may be giving a presentation at the National Coaches Conference at Columbia University in New York City in October. I'm a little nervous about making that presentation, right? I'm a little nervous. There's going to be hundreds of
Okay.
people there, right? So I could sit in that anxiety and say, oh, what if, what if, what if, what if? Oh my God, what, I can start spinning. Or I can do what I was taught to do by a coach, which is every day, right? I I close my eyes for a little bit of time and I picture myself on that stage, laughing with my two business partners, talking about this, the Awakening app that I'm building. It's a coaching app that they want me to present, and having a good time with the presentation. I imagine that in my mind now. It's not happening until October, but I'm getting comfortable being on stage and doing this presentation. And when I get there, I will have already done it. Do you see
Yeah.
what I mean? So I am changing my thinking about what's going to happen. And something as simple as just imagining yourself being successful, which is what all these athletes do. This is the Silva method, right? This is the Silva method. It's been around since the 70s, right? Where you just imagine yourself in that circumstance, being very successful at it. You feel all the emotions that are going on with that, being successful at it. You're creating your reality. You're
Yeah.
creating your reality in that way. So I know you want to talk about step 12.
No, that there isn't a gold medalist out there that didn't use visualization,
Yeah,
because they would not be a gold medalist if they hadn't.
exactly.
And I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, I could either see myself failing, looking like an idiot, saying the wrong things, and hating myself more, which was my most practiced way of living for years. Or I can start seeing, wait a minute, I got this. I got. I have a power greater than me on my side. I got people like Brenda in my life I can talk to and to get ideas. I know my brain works now, and I can build a presentation that inspires, empowers, and delivers things to people, you know what I mean, to people, so they can take a walk away and grow with what I'm teaching. I
Yeah,
mean, the funniest things in the world
yeah.
that come out of that. Brenda, let me just say, so we have um uh those people that they're not speaking from the hilltop. They're not talking down to people. They're not an evangelist. They are, they've had a spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And that awakening came from beating type 2 diabetes. I don't know why I'm using that. Well, because you don't need pills for that stuff. Maybe a few people do. I know, but at least 90+% of people can cure that through exercise, meditation, and food. Food is medicine. Food also is toxic, that'll kill you. And fire is a beautiful thing, but it can kill you. So I love when people, because I know what that spark is inside. I am not resisting. I made mistakes. I ate incorrectly, and not me. I don't have type 2 diabetes. I got type 1 alcoholism. and and and, and basically there's support groups for that. And those people come in and go, I'm really struggling. I want to go back to my old way. And then people give that, they work together. Maybe they come to their house and they say, let's remove the garbage together. Let's build a plan. And no, don't go at this alone, because you're going to fail. Oh, I have strong will. No, you don't, because you wouldn't be in this situation if you did. And that's okay. It's like there's some awakenings I needed. I needed to hear some hard truths from people. They weren't worried about me not liking them. They weren't worried. They were freed from the bondage of self. And the only way I can help this person is to help disrupt this programming that's killing them. And I'm going to say it as it is. If you don't like it, that's on you. I love saying it.
Carrie says to manifest, and that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
People tend to think, and this is just human nature, when we think about ourselves when we're anxious about going into a circumstance or something new that we haven't experienced, when we're anxious about change, when we think of failure, we think in a polar way, right? It's duality. So we think I'm going to fail miserably. I'm going to flop on. We don't think that there's like some kind of middle ground, right? So either we do great or we fail. And if we fail, it's going to be miserably. And that's not the truth. There's middle ground. So when I'm navigating something that I'm not used to, I don't shoot for the stars. I shoot for the middle ground, right? So if I'm trying to lose weight, I'm not going to change my entire diet, right? When I'm trying to cut out sugar, I'll take one or two things off my plate for the week and try that on for size. I don't set myself up for failure. I set myself up for success by taking small steps in the change. And this is when I'm really anxious or really afraid. I'm self-compassionate and I take small steps towards the goal. I don't leap into the circumstance or situation with an all or nothing attitude. I go in there in the middle. I hope that makes sense. What did that say? I didn't get to see it. Can you pop that up there one more time?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was yapping away here. Persistence. Do not give up. Oh, that's cute with the ant. Who's that guy who would push the rock up the hill and then fall back down?
Rocky.
No, it's some Greek name. Trish will probably know because she's really good with history. She says Albert Camus or Camus, I don't know how to say it, was a French philosopher. She considers most of his work to be existential.
Who said this?
Camus. Camus is how you pronounce it. Your sister Trish.
Oh, that's because she has a new co-pilot agent on her phone and she's cheating. Hi, God. Hey,
you're just really smart, Charlie.
You know what? You are afraid of people. Get that thing because it's like a person, and you can ask it like, I asked it, I'm going to go to the store and get this and that. What do you think is better for me? And then, oh, well, this is the benefits. This is what you want to I mean, it's unbelievable. There's freaking no excuses anymore. But is there? Of course there is, because our programming will always create a story to protect us from change.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's hurting us, but the brain is keeping us safe. Brenda, we have eyes, right? And what do you see right now? Which way do our eyes go? They see outside of us, right? So, and I know blind people from birth that have no struggles, really. They don't know your business. They don't know what somebody's doing in a line that's irritating them. They don't know that traffic is what's causing the driver suffering in this moment. They don't know because they don't see the garbage. They don't see the problem outside of them. They take responsibility. I want to design an app that lets you look at your phone and then it takes your eyes and it turns it right back so you can see within, because that's what we work so hard to do. That's what I work so hard through the steps, through coaching, through books I read, is how to see within me. And then how I see out there changes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Charlie, what you're talking about is an app that I'm writing right now. We're coming out with an app. It's called the Awakening app. It should be ready. We have the desktop version almost ready, and the mobile phone version should be ready in a few months. It's very hard, very difficult programming to do that. And it's about awakening, and it's about the answers lie within you. And it's a way to show you how to get to those answers. So yeah, that's coming out, Charlie. We are doing an app that is going to allow you to mirror what you already know to be truth within you, and use it to solve your problems in your life, or to look at something differently, or to expand spiritually, or connect with your higher self. It's really incredible. So,
but it's pretty amazing. Our eyes only see one way. And for all of those sighted people, they only see outside of us. And it's too bad we don't have a switch. And then all of a sudden it says, oh, I see. I'm noodling with this. I'm resisting that. I'm creating all this stuff. And then you turn it back and everything just got beautiful again. I remember when I came to after doing a thorough fifth step and, really diving into to the selfishness, self-centeredness that was the root of my troubles. It was driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion. I had become a victim, and I was always living in the past. The future, forget about it. That was going to suck. So don't even bother. I'm more comfortable noodling on everything I did wrong and how everybody was against me. And then I remember going to my mentor and saying, did you send an email out to like the universe and let them know I was going places? And because people aren't bothering me anymore. Like stuff isn't really, I don't feel the tension. I don't need to know. I don't have to have it right. I don't need to be the smartest guy or the dumbest guy in the room. And he went,
Yeah.
He said, that's called a spiritual awakening. Welcome aboard.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Welcome to reality. When I was awakening, one of the things that I really noticed was I started just what you're talking about. I stopped attaching meaning to things, and I started to experience this sense of freedom because I just didn't care, right? Mm-hmm. I stopped caring what people thought about me because guess what I learned? They're not thinking about me, right? So that took care of that problem. But the other thing is, as I was moving in that direction, like you were talking about, suddenly I had all this space and now, because I was used to being in my fear center, expecting something to happen because that's what I was doing. I was bringing my past experiences into the present moment and being prepared for what I thought was going to happen because I didn't realize that I could create my reality, that in the present moment, it's a brand new show. It could be whatever I want it to be. I get to decide what I want my reality to be. And so in making that transition, I kept looking for something to chew on. There's got to be something wrong somewhere, right? my radar was like, there's got to be something wrong. This can't be, I was so unfamiliar with feeling safe and confident and alive and free. And right now I'm good with it. I'm used to it, but making that transition can be really difficult. And that's why it's important to have an accountability buddy, a coach, have a support system. Like, there's a bunch of us on this podcast that come every week. Like, I love these guys, right? We connect every week. We talk about stuff that means something, and people will reach out during the week and say, I really appreciated that. Like, I'm really thinking about that this week, or, I can't believe that you think the way that I do, right? I thought I was the only one who felt that. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. There's 8 billion people on the planet for a reason. We're supposed to be helping each other.
Yeah. Stanley said earlier, the way I looked at it is what I'm running away from, I'm running into.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
Because I'm still me. Ism, alcoholism, food addiction ism. Suffering ism. I'm still me because I'm resisting change. And what happens? I get sicker instead of letting go and surrendering a bit. And, Brenda, you said it. I'm an all or nothing guy. So today I don't mean today for real, but my old way of getting myself very tense was today I'm going to clean the entire garage. That means everything has to go out into the driveway, and then you got to break out the magnifiers, and it has to be done perfect because I'm a loser. I don't know this, and I am exhausted, and I'm finding things that I'm getting, and I can't do it. I have given myself way too much. And then it's time for dinner. How could people eat? I've got to do this because if I don't complete it, it doesn't matter what you think of me. What I'm going to think of me is that's going to kill me. So now I'm going to clean this corner of the garage. It's amazing when I break free from that bondage. And then I clean that corner, and who knows, I might, besides standing there appreciating it, that's a good job. It looks nice. That works. I maybe might move on and do a little more. I might stop. Say tomorrow I'll do some more. And over time, the job gets done with sanity.
Yeah. So you're approaching the garage the same way we were talking about approaching a diet change, or, approaching any kind of change with small goals that lead up to the big one, right? Instead of attacking, the all or nothing thinking, attacking the big one and failing.
And
Great
Brenda,
advice.
I keep going back to my large print list of my strengths. I still am doing it because I'm still, I have, for those listening, let me just say, if you've practiced certain way of thinking, a certain way of the act, you basically are living out of programming and you're getting the results you've been getting and they're not getting better. Okay. Me too. I did. And to disrupt that and to create new pathways is a job. It's work. But
Yes.
but the ease and comfort, the real ease and comfort, this new power, a God of my understanding, whatever that might be, a power greater than me, universe, a new power, a new peace, a new happiness, and a new sense of direction. Well, actually, a sense of a direction, because I didn't have one, will start coming in. But it doesn't happen just because you came to this podcast. If it does, please let me know because I'm gonna have a little success dance, but I know it won't. It takes time.
Yeah.
And that journey, that time is where all the growth is. It's not the end. Because I know when I reach the end, it's when my last breath. That's the end.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the end. Let me read some comments here. So Trish says it's a daily effort, but it's worth it. And Stan came up with a new hashtag no more running away. I'm going to use that on my TikTok and YouTube videos this week. Here's a famous quote from Hippocrates: "Let food be my medicine and medicine be my food." Yep.
Oh, wow. That's great. All right. Well, are you feeling good?
I'm feeling good. It's 10:12. It's about time to wrap it up.
I just want to say Brenda spoke this past week, and it is so awesome to watch a speaker that is sitting there and the message is coming from them. And when the message stops, as in the flow, we all know it when we're in the right lane, we're in the flow. It's effortless, and as soon as I watched Brenda slow down and she paused and went, oh, I know what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go up here and start thinking of things to say because I need to fix these people. I need them to understand the message that I don't remember sharing with them. And you said, I think that's it. Thank you. And I thought, I love that because I know exactly where you were in that space. I wanted to go into my thinking brain and do more. And then my higher self, my whatever, said, that's it. I'm complete. And then I said, oh, you said, I don't know what I said.
I never remember what I say when I speak. And when the flow stops, it stops. So I stop. I'm like, oh, it's whatever was coming through me has turned off. It's thank you. That's it.
And that's exactly what you're going to do when you're presenting your app. You will be prepared. You will know the end in mind. And that means how many people it's going to help, all that, and that's like when I'm out presenting and I'm in, I showed that little talk I did there in Boston. It's like, it was over. That's it. People are like, wow, that was, because it's all important to have a masterful closing in your speeches, which is true, to tie it all together and to get a standing ovation and make a lot of money. I like all that. But there's so many times it just ends.
You know what? The key thing is, Charlie, is that presentation I'm doing is not about me.
Yep.
It's about the people I'm helping. It is not about me. It has never been about me. It will never be about me. And if I keep that in mind, I'll be just fine.
Yep.
It's not about me.
And keep this in mind right here. Resistance is a wonderful thing. Persistence is a wonderful thing. An ant pushing that heavy boulder up the hill, one little inchy or millimeter at a time, is a wonderful thing. But the bottom line is don't give up and don't go at it alone.
Yeah. Good advice. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter to all that celebrate.
Hey, look at that. And now I'm sure everybody listening or who's watching this will subscribe and share it with all their family and friends and people that irritate them, that they want them to get better. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. And we appreciate you and happy Easter.